do I age well? It's something I often ponder on. My name's Rosario Barreto, and I want to find out what it takes to live a healthy and happy life as we age. I'm a clinical exercise specialist, and for the past 5 years, I've worked with nearly 1,000 older adults, and as a result, have had the chance to talk to a diverse range of happy and healthy, and not so happy and healthy people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I want to know what it takes to be able to look back and confidently say, I lived an amazing life. Why not join me in this exploration on what it takes to live happily and healthily and learn how to age well? So this is my first walking podcast episode. I don't know if you can hear the background, but I'm basically walking through some woods. It's very, very wet and very, very cold. Maybe you can hear the squelching underneath my boots. Maybe you can hear some birds. It's about 9 a.m. in the UK. And I think today I'm going to talk about habit creating and focusing that on exercise and exercising enough regularly. So I think in society, we're always told yes, exercise is important, definitely in the last 20 years. It's valuable. We identify that. All the research points to the fact that exercise is crucial to our current health, but also our future health. And as a result, we all know we need to exercise. But in the past, there's been this massive push to kind of use the gym, right? Go to the gym, exercise. That's the only kind of main way to exercise, is finding a kind of local commercial gym, lots of equipment, do a circuit around the equipment, and then you're done. I personally find that extremely boring. And on top of that, you've got lots of different bits of equipment and you're not taught how to use it. And if you're not necessarily sporty or fitness inclined, you may not just have that intuitive knowledge of how to use the equipment, of how to do the correct technique, how to have the best posture when you're doing the exercises, and different things like that. So there's lots of things that I think are very wrong about this concept that we need to go to the gym. On top of that, can you stay consistent when you're going to the gym? I don't know. I know that for me personally, as a woman, the whole commercial gym thing where you just go by yourself and get on some machines and create your own program is incredibly boring. I find it so understimulating. Don't see that much of a benefit for my mental health. I'm definitely exercising, so that's good, and some movement's better than no movement, but it's never ever been a sustainable option for me. Luckily, I've played sport all my life, so from a consistency point of view with exercise, I've not really struggled because I've played football and netball and cricket and rounders, and I've done that pretty much every day up until uni. And at uni, I was training netball 4 times a week and going to the gym pretty much every day. So that was fine. And at uni, I had other students and mates that I could go to the gym with. It was like a student gym. It was so cheap. And I think we paid something like £20 a month. But as a result of that, I was able to stay consistent. But realistically, now I'm an adult and I have a job and I have a house and I have lots of more responsibilities. I've just not been able to sustain that. So if I go through my journey a little bit, I graduated from university in 2018, and I started my first job part-time as an athletic development coach at a private school, and then I also started my first business part-time. Within 6 months, I went from part-time business to a full-time business, and I had to quit my job, which I found extremely mentally challenging because I really felt like I was letting the company down or the school down that I had committed to for at least a year. But in hindsight, it was the best option. And in reality, they probably didn't miss me that much. I know that the manager that I had was fantastic, and I potentially maybe let him down a little bit. But from a wider point of view, and also from a little bit of a selfish point of view, it was the right thing to do. So whilst I was there, I had access to a gym, so I could exercise there. I also joined my local gym, and I just could not do it. I'm a morning exerciser. I love to get up in the morning and exercise. But when you've got a job, which potentially starts at 9 a.m, means you have to be done in the gym by 8 a.m, depending on how far you've got to travel. Making myself up to go to the gym by myself every morning wasn't something that I found very motivational, and I've never been consistent in the long term. And I think a lot of my friends, and definitely Sam, my husband, have been so, like, they relate so much. Like, that conventional commercial style gym is not super exciting. I then came across an advert in a gym for a CrossFit box, and I'd heard of CrossFit, and I'd kind of I know that I like classes because I like going to like spin classes and different things like that. I definitely know that motivates me a lot more than my own independent programming. Even though I'm a personal trainer, even though I love to exercise, even though I love sport, I still hate having to decide what I personally need to do in the gym. So I did this 14-day trial for this CrossFit box, and I absolutely loved like the way that they trained. I felt like I really worked myself. I felt completely out of my depth in a sense that I just did not. I thought I was fit. I had like massive ego. Went in there like, yeah, all guns blazing, and was really shown up by so many different people, shape, sizes, men, women. And it really taught me a lesson to not judge a book by its cover. I then went on to join that gym. I think I was there for about 2 years. Unfortunately, I didn't like the whole CrossFit mentality at that specific box, so I left and went back to commercial gyms. There were no other options for early morning classes at that point. I was going back to the 6 a.m. classes, probably about 3 times a week, on a consistent rate. And I think also, just to fit this in there, no matter what anybody says, none of us are exercising enough to justify a rest day. Like, I would say like the top end of the population. Sorry, my dog is barking. He's on a walk with me, and hopefully he'll run past. Like, from like an average Joe or Jane point of view, we do not exercise enough to justify like 2 or 3 days of rest a week, right? Like, yes, definitely have like rest 1 day a week. I think that's so important, but make that an active recovery day. So go for a long walk, maybe go for a bike ride, go and do something, but maybe not working as heavy or as hard as you're used to. And I think that's a really important mentality to have. Is a lot of the people that I work with are constantly saying, oh, like today's my rest day. But most of the time that person is sat down on a chair in an office, or if they're a patient I'm working with, they're in bed or they're sat on the sofa for probably 90% of the day. And the rest is like very minimal walking. So to justify rest day in my eyes is just not good enough. And it is a bit of tough love. And I think we need to retrain that concept. I think it can be a bit of an excuse for us to not exercise. It's like, oh, today's my rest day. Or you create these ideas in your head like, oh, I definitely need a rest day, when probably you don't. Like, the best thing to do would to be go to the gym, walk on a treadmill, even if it's for 15 minutes. That to me is resting. So going back to my journey of consistent training and creating habits, if you're allocating regular rest days, you're preventing yourself from creating habits, because for example, let's say you're going to the gym at 6 a.m, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then on Thursday and Friday, you're creating a rest day. It's a lot harder to stay consistent with waking up at that time in the morning, getting yourself out of bed, going to the gym. You're breaking that habit up, and then as a result, not creating a habit. And the most important part about creating a habit is that it becomes an easy task. It's something you don't necessarily have to put too much brain energy into, because you're so used to it. It's just part of your day. It's something that's a non-negotiable part of your day. So it just didn't work for me when I was going to this commercial gym after the CrossFit box. I would probably go to a class a week, and me and Sam would have to force each other to attend the sessions. And when we were there, we just didn't feel like we were getting very much out of it. We'd gone from this CrossFit style training to like commercial, so trying to incorporate CrossFit style stuff in a commercial gym. You just look like an absolute idiot. And luckily enough, we'd been watching a local gym. We'd also were in the process of moving house, so getting closer to this specific gym. They'd started early morning classes. Now, before that, they didn't have them as an option, but they contacted us to let us know, because we'd said, like, we're interested, but we can't come because the timings of your gym classes don't work for us. And we've been there for about nearly, I'm going to say 2.5 years to 3 years. And I'm going 4 or 5 times a week. It is an absolute non-negotiable. When I can't go for whatever reason, because I'm on holiday, because I'm sick, whatever it is, I feel like I'm really missing something out of my life. And I can firmly say that this habit is being created. It is so formed that I now miss going to the gym. And I've not used the word rest day in 2 years, unless I'm sick and I'm like, oh, my immune system definitely needs to work right now, and I can't be exercising while I need my body to get stronger. So I found something that really worked for me, despite me being someone that's super sporty, despite being someone who loves exercising and moving and lifting heavy things and running and stuff like that. I didn't find something that I was absolutely in love with, that I stayed consistent with until I'm of the age of 26. Now, I know that still sounds super young. However, that's probably 20, maybe 18 years of trying to find something that I love from a person who loves exercise. Now, it's a completely different story for somebody who potentially doesn't like exercise. This morning, I was talking to my coach at the gym, and she was saying how there are genetic traits which make you more likely to like sport, or to be competitive, or to like to exercise compared to others. And it's never been told to me in a scientific way, but I've always felt that. I've always felt, for me, I love sport. It's like definitely a genetic thing. It's something that's really internal. I absolutely love. And some people don't have that. And I want to say probably a lot of people, maybe the majority. I don't know the stats, so don't quote me. And I can understand how, if you don't have that drive to move to exercise, how creating that habit in the first place is extremely challenging. So one, you've got to kind of find that love for it. And I think one of the biggest barriers to consistent exercise and creating an exercise habit, is finding something you love. There is absolutely no point of exercising and doing something that you do not like. Everybody is different. And just because your friend or your mum or your sister or your dad or whoever it is goes to the gym and uses a commercial gym and is like, yes, like, come, let's do something, doesn't mean that's your form of exercise. Find something that you absolutely love. For me, it's CrossFit style classes that are really in a group setting, that make sure that I speak to another person every day. The coaches are amazing. Somebody's holding me accountable. I've got the competitive element of trying to challenge myself, but also working with other amazing people in the gym to really improve our physical ability. And I also just don't have to think about what the next thing is. And sometimes I go in and I'm like, oh, I just can't be bothered. I don't want to lift this heavy weight. It's 70% of my 1 rep max and I just cannot be bothered. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means lifting 70% of the maximum weight that I can do. So for example, let's say I can do 100 kilo squat, and the programming is for 70%. I'd be doing 70% of the weight, so 70 kilos. and lifting that a certain amount of times. And sometimes you just go in and you're like, it's 7 a.m. in the morning and you're like, I just cannot be bothered. But I still do it because I love it and I love the people there and I love all of these other things, and it's not just one thing. And I think that that's so important when you're choosing a regular exercise style. And I think that's why women love classes, because mainly of the social element associated with group exercise. So, number one, find something you love. Number two, go regularly. So when it comes to habits, it's not easy at the beginning. I think Gymshark say like it takes 66 days to create a habit, right? And if you think about that, most of us quit within 2 weeks because you haven't had, or you haven't pushed yourself enough to give yourself the right amount of time to create a habit. So I think they're just really, really great food for thought statements. My next stage, at the moment, I'm only making three sessions a week at the gym. I walk my dog every day, so that's an element of exercise. It doesn't have to be super high intensity. It doesn't have to be CrossFit level exercise, right? You can just every day, like Monday, yoga, Tuesday, walk the dog or walk yourself. Wednesday, 10 minutes of squats. Thursday, 5 minutes of plank holds. Friday, a 1 hour workout in the gym. Saturday, a swim. And then Sunday can be your rest day, right? But regular exercise is so important, especially in the society that we're living in. And the way to achieve that is by creating habits. And I'm a very firm believer in the power of creating habits. So stick to something for 66 days. Do it every day. It's okay if you miss one day. It's okay if you miss 5 days in 66 days. But do it the majority of the time. When you get that inner critic, that inner thought that's saying, oh, but why don't I just have a day off? Oh, I'll go tomorrow. As soon as that thought comes into your mind, that's it, you're done for, because you're allowing yourself to stop. You're allowing yourself to miss that gym session. You're breaking that cycle of creating a habit. So my top tips for creating a habit, which is eventually over time going to create consistency, and as a result, regular movement. As a result, you're promoting better current health, better future health, preventing long-term chronic health conditions, preventing all of the impacts and the implications of sedentary living. And you're going to age well as a result of that. Lifting weights regularly is improving your posture. By improving your posture, you're less likely to fall. You're less likely to have a spinal injury. You're less likely to go through daily discomfort. So if we look at it from a long-term perspective, from the beginning, then I think that can really help motivate, but also take it day by day and really say, okay, like, what am I feeling? What am I doing today? Right. I'm feeling a little bit negative. My energy's a little bit low, but I'm going to go anyway. I'm just going to go there. And even if you just go, sit in the gym, maybe just walk on a treadmill for 5 minutes, or go to the class, do the first bit, do the warm up. And if you're still not feeling it, then go. But getting up and going is the hardest part. It has always been the hardest part. But once you've got that and you get up and go, get out of bed, go during a lunch break, go straight after work, don't even bother going home. That's where all the differences are made. It's not in the activity, it's in the getting up and going and making that decision to not listen to those inner critic thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I don't need to do that, it's not going to benefit me, all of that rubbish that we tell ourselves. So I just want to reiterate, it doesn't have to be going to the gym, it doesn't have to be going to a CrossFit class. If you like solo exercise, do solo exercise. If you like group exercise, do group exercise. If you like playing sport, go and play a sport. If you don't know what you like, go and try hundreds of things out and find what you like. I'm very confident that you will find at least one thing that you can do once a day, even if it's for 15 minutes. Start with 15 minutes, build up to 45 minutes, build up to an hour. You don't really need to do more than an hour as long as you're regularly moving on a daily basis. So I hope that gives you some motivation. I hope that helps you with creating your habits and deciding how you're going to move forward with exercise, but ultimately, what's your why? Our why is to age well, to move well, to prevent long-term health conditions, and so that we can improve the quality of life in later life and not have to rely on external supports like mobility aids, carers, family members to look after us when we're in our 90s or our 100s, because I'm definitely going to live till I'm 100 years old. So yeah, that's me done for today. My name's Rosaria Barretto, and thank you so much for listening to How to Age Well. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback means so much and helps others to find out about how to age well.